I'm back. Yeah, yeah. In the tube again. So, how's it going? Great? Perfect. Me? Better than good, better than most, and sometimes even better than that. So, yeah, it's all going good. Large up, Norm. Norm is already in the chat, ready to go. Yeah, man. Norm is a bit on shock because of Santos. You made me laugh when I read your. I started to laugh. I'm like, wow, standing on his head now. Yes. So I will keep on going tonight with the review of my 33 keys to unlock your full potential. Today I called a few places to get it published. It's quite expensive. I wasn't expecting to be that expensive, but I knew it was going to cost something. I'm not Tony Robbins, obviously, publishing a book. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit pricey, but it's doable. I think I could have probably have it published by... but I'm going to give the manuscript to the editing house, the Maison d'édition. I don't know if it's how you call it, but yeah. And they will review it. They will... but I told them not to change any words in it because I do a bit of dispelling and stuff. But I want to make it also readable, so it's not too far-fetched and too far into the dispelling of the words, so it's not easy to read. So, yeah. But, yeah, I started to look at how to do it and all that. Should have it done soon, so we're gonna keep going with our review. I'm gonna share my screen. Do we still hear the music? Oh yeah, the music plays in the background. I don't think I stopped it. That's okay. Let me check. Oh, it's still playing. It's okay. So, yeah. I hope it's not too loud. Let me know if the music in the background is too loud. But I think it should be just okay. Maybe I'll stop it. I don't know. Let me know if it's too loud, if it's annoying, or if it's too loud. So, that's a share screen. I'm new with this old thing of StreamYard, so I'm getting used to it, the backgrounds and stuff. Put you a nice background today. Amanita muscaria. I think it's called the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Yeah. The Santa Claus mushroom. Has to do with Santa Claus and all that. But they took that reference for building the story of Santa Claus, the magic mushroom. Because back in the day, apparently, more than back in the day, long time ago, shaman used to go to houses and deliver the magic mushroom to the habitant, and that's it. They were all eye on mush back in the day. So, okay, we have the book on the screen. Expand your sense of sacred mission. I'll stop the music because it's kind of annoying. Okay. So, each of us serve as a living example to others. Our character and conduct and behavior. Our conduct and behavior can cast either the bright glow of greatness and service to the far corners of our influence. Hold on, lost it. or a shadow of a small. Let me put on my glasses. I can see too much. Hold on, I need a little adjustment. So I can see something. Okay, that's better. Bon. So a shadow of smallness and selfishness to the unfortunate few nearest us. Our striving for a better life and a better world can leave others inspired if it comes from a genuine place of service, or diminish if it comes from a place of greed. We must have the determination. We must we must have the determination to ask in this confused era, am I seeking to be a role model on a daily basis for all of those I love and serve? Am I lifting up those around me? Am I in some way elevating humanity by leading others to see and activate their potential? Am I living a truly great life? Seeking greatness and doing the work to deserve it must come back into our collective awareness. Let us now awaken that powerful force within that seeks to lift some of the weight of the world from the backs of those struggling. Let us take our position as generals of generosity, as leaders of the highest caliber who give a damn about others and the world. Let us declare with firm intent that the world and ourselves we shall inspire greatness. So the 9 virtues of greatness. What exactly shall we demand of others? The same we demand of ourselves. Behavior becoming of a noble character. Attention to both our shortcomings and our strengths. A ready willingness to be excellent in our service to the world, even when it becomes tiresome and difficult. We will do this by inspiring and challenging others to act with wisdom and virtue in any part of their lives upon which we have influence. If we have their ear, let us sow the seeds of greatness by inspiring the 9 virtues of greatness. Let us demand honesty. Let us demand responsibility. Let us demand intelligence. Let us demand excellence. Let us demand determination. Let us demand respect for others. Let us demand vigilance. Let us demand service. Let us demand unity. Boom. Key number 26, defeat your demons, become a conscious creator. Become an aware creator. Become an aware are. I like the word aware because you are in when you are aware pretty much all the time. So it says it in the word are. So aware. Yeah. You can also see it like a wear and tear, but it's not really the same spelling. It's more like are. So aware. Yeah. Divisions, poison. Then it's antisocial venom that causes divisions, poison. Then it's antisocial venom that courses through us and clouds the innate emotional, social, and spiritual intelligence that would otherwise lead us universally to connection with others and to divine love. To connection, what word did I have for connection? Leads us universally to connection. What did I put there? Hold on. connection. Network. That's what I said earlier. Uh, Universally to network with others. And to divine love. Greatness belongs to those who have mastered their internal world. Yeah, pretty much the both are good here. We are all plagued by doubt, but the great nevertheless find faith and begin. We all feel like delaying action, but the great march on. We all want to avoid vulnerability or act superior over others from time to time, but the great consistently show openness, humility, and love. Persistently. Person? Yeah. So these few are not lucky, they are simply more intentional and more practiced at defeating their internal demons. That is why they have so much vitality, motivation, and confidence. Enlightenment comes to those who free themselves from self oppression. Yeah. And the self esteem. Self esteem, I think you write it like this, but we'll do a spell check anyway. Let us choose to make that our aim and once and for all root out that which holds us back in life. We deserve to be free from all those stirrings within us that compromise our magnificence. The triad of truth, love, and power can serve as an incredible force for good. When honest, compassionate, people remain powerless and only dishonest. Okay, when honest, compassionate people remain powerless and only dishonest, uncaring people acquire power. We all suffer for it. The world is well served when those who are aligned with truth and love gain this third element. If you can be such a person, then I encourage you to consciously develop your power, since that decision benefits us all. Then I encourage you consciously. Let's see what we find for. I just took out the page, I think. Okay, it's still there. Anybody here? Anybody here? So, okay, hold on. Let me go to the thesaurus consciously. Deliberately. I think I prefer deliberately. Encourage you to deliberately. Deliberately, is it like that? Deliberately. Yeah, deliberately. Deliberately. Develop your power since that decision benefits us all. Encourage. Let's see what kind of word we find for encourage. Boost. Embolden, buoy, hearten, inspire. Inspire you, maybe. Yeah. Then I inspire you to deliberately. Then I suggest you to I suggest you. Then I suggest you to deliberately develop your power since that decision benefits us all. As you achieve in growing your power, you'll be able to fulfill your needs and desire with greater ease. You'll find it easier to set and achieve meaningful goals. Purposeful goal. Purposeful goal. Purposeful? Yeah. We'll do a spell check anyway. The alternative is to wallow in powerlessness, thereby neglecting your needs and desires. If you neglect your needs, you may physically die. If you neglect your desires, you lower your consciousness and feel dead on the inside. Some belief systems teach that powerlessness is a desirable trait, but nothing could be further from the truth. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay. So some belief systems teach that powerlessness is a desirable trait, but nothing could be further from the truth. Powerlessness is neither noble nor intelligent. It's a misguided path rooted in fear, denial, and low self-worth. If you desire to live more consciously, if you desire to live with more awareness, you must learn to wield and apply power wisely, not to flee from responsibility it entails, not to flee from the responsibility it entails. Mastery of power is not remotely easy. In fact, you may find its development and correct application to be your single greatest personal development challenge. Nevertheless, power remains an essential component of conscious growth. Conscious, what do we have? Because I don't want to repeat all the same all the time. Let me check. Conscious. Aware, I think I put. Aware. Aware. Attentive and aware. Attentive and aware is good. Power is an essential component of aware growth, of attentive growth. Of of conscious growth. Conscious. Another word for conscious. Hold on. I'm stuck here. Hold on. Vigilant. Vigilant. Vigilant growth. Without it, you can be no more than a passive victim of your reality. With power, you become a conscious creator. Become an aware creator. Or an attentive creator. Maybe a attentive creator. With power, you become an attentive creator. Yeah. I have been finding treasures in places I did not want to search. I have been hearing wisdom from tongues I did not want to listen. I have been finding beauty where I did not want to look. And I have learned so much from journeys I did not want to take. Forgive me, O gracious one, for I have been closing my ears and eyes for too long. I have learned that miracles are only called miracles because they are often witnessed by only those who can see through all of life's illusions. I am ready to see what really exists on the other side, what exists behind the blinds, and taste all the ugly fruit instead of all that looks right, plump, and ripe. Susie Kassim. Deep within, there is something profoundly known, not consciously but subconsciously, a quiet truth that is not a version of something but an original knowing. What this absolute truth, identity, is, maybe none of our business, but it is there, guiding us along the path of greater becoming, a true awareness. It is so self sustaining that our recognition of it is not required. We are offsprings of such a powerfully divine force, creator of all things known and unknown. Eat veggies, very important, for sure. I think I'm going to start growing microgreens. Yeah, I just told Kim I'm going to grow microgreens. Increase self awareness, key number 27. As you strive to bring more truth into your life, you must cultivate a high degree of self awareness. This includes becoming aware of your strengths, weaknesses, talents, knowledge, biases, attachment, desires, emotion, instinct, habit, and state of mind. As human beings, we're often filled with conflicting desire. One part of us wants to be healthy, happy, and highly conscious. Another part wants nothing more than eat. I think we read that. Why is this there? Unless, unless it's not. I don't know. Anyway, as human beings, we are often filled with conflicting desires. One part of us wants to be healthy, happy, and highly conscious, highly aware. Another part wants nothing more than to eat, sleep, have sex, and be lazy. Without the presence of consciousness, awareness, we fall into reflexive patterns by default, living more like unconscious animals than fully sentient human beings. Recognize that your level of awareness doesn't remain constant. Sometimes pure logic dominates your thinking. Other times you're overwhelmed with emotional concerns, emotional worries. Sometimes you feel incredibly spiritual. Other times you're worried about your finances. Sometimes you eat for good health and energy. Other times you satisfy yourself with all the processed junk you can devour. When you make decisions from a certain state of mind and act upon them, you reinforce that same state, thereby increasing the likelihood you'll respond similarly in the future. For example, if you act out of anger, you'll strengthen your mind's anger response. If you act out of kindness, you'll reinforce a kind response. Any given level of awareness has a tendency to perpetuate itself, so you'll likely find yourself cycling through the same ones repeatedly. A significant part of personal development involves working to release your attachment to the lower states as you draw yourself into higher awareness on a more permanent basis. On a practical level, this means letting go of addictions, negative emotions, and fear based behaviors, and replace them with consciously chosen, what did we have before? With attentively chosen principle centered action, with consciously, with deliberate, chosen, with deliberately, with deliberate, deliberate, chosen, principle centered action. And in order to successfully change your behaviors, you must first develop an awareness of your thoughts. Yeah. A good way to build your awareness is to make your important decisions from the most reasonable thinking you can muster. The best point to make new choice is when you feel alert, clear-headed, and intelligent. That's the time to consider making big transformations in your life, such as a career change, a relationship change, or moving to a new city. Learn to trust those higher states of consciousness. But I think I have that before. Put the decisions in writing and fully commit yourself to them. When you inevitably sink back down to lower state and lose sight of that higher perspective, continue to act on those decisions even though you may no longer feel as committed to them. Over time, your external circumstances will change in ways that reinforce those higher states. Living living attentively, living consciously. What did I mark before? Living consciously gets easier with practice. So consciously, hold on. Consciously. Intentionally. Intentionally. Living intentionally. Living intentionally gets easier with practice. My decisions may not be perfect, but when I use this process, I can at least trust that I made them correctly and from a place of truth. When you consistently, when you permanently make key decisions from a high level of awareness, they will become more congruent. You'll avoid getting stuck in that state of ambivalence where you keep shifting back and forth between alternative and can make up your mind. Recognize that when you make choices from a place of anger, fear, sadness, or guilt, you cannot be aligned with truth because your predictions will be negatively biased by those lower states. Self awareness is really truth awareness. When your awareness is high, you're closer to truth than when your awareness is low. So if you aren't aligned with truth, your decision will produce inferior results. Truth aligned decisions are more accurate and will tend to yield better results than those made from low awareness. The key is to use your self awareness to recognize when you're aligned with truth and when you aren't, and strive to make your important decision only when this core principle is on your side. Self awareness is the first. Hold on, I want to see something. Okay, increase self awareness. So, self awareness is the first step in creating what you want and mastering your life. When you focus your attention, your emotions, reaction, personality, and behavior determine where you go in life. Having self awareness allows you to see where your thoughts and emotions are taking you. It also allows you to take control of your emotions, behavior, and personality so you can make changes you want. Until you are aware in the moment of your thoughts, emotion, words, and behavior, you will have difficulty making changes in the direction of your life. Self awareness is developed through practices in focusing your attention on the details of your personality and behavior. It isn't learned from reading a book. When you read a book, you are focusing your attention on the conceptual ideas in the book. You can develop an intellectual understanding of the ideas of self awareness from a book, but this is not the same. With your attention in a book, you are practicing not paying attention to your own behavior, emotions, and personality. Think of learning to be mindful and self aware as learning to dance. When learning to dance, we have to pay attention to how and where our feet move, our hands, and body motion. What our partner is doing, the music, beat, floor, space, and other dancers. Dancing isn't learned from books, and self awareness isn't either. A dancer needs awareness of their body movements. Self awareness is what you develop when you give attention to your expressions of thought, emotions, and behavior. In this heightened awareness, you instinctively make better choices in your thought process long before an emotional reaction or destructive behavior. If awareness is about noticing stuff in the world, self-awareness is about focusing your awareness on yourself, on your being, on yourself. It's your ability to notice your feelings, your physical sensations, your reactions, your habits, your behaviors, and your thoughts. You are aware of all those different aspects of yourself as if you were another person observing you. Another way to think of it is giving attention to your intuition, also known as your sixth sense or your gut feeling. Self awareness is about being honest with yourself. We all have a self image of how we want others to perceive us. You might view yourself as punctual, but in reality, you are often late to appointments. Self awareness is about focusing on the reality of your behavior and not on the story you tell yourself about yourself. I care for myself. The more solitary, the more friendless, the more unsustained I am, the more I will respect myself. That's a good one. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who look inside awakes. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The difference between my darkness and your darkness is that I can look at my own badness in the face and accept its existence while you are busy covering your mirror with a white linen sheet. The difference between my sins and your sins is that when I sin, I know I'm sinning, while you have actually fallen prey to your own fabricated illusions. I am a sirene, a mermaid. I know that I am beautiful while basking on the ocean's waves. And you are a white witch, a wizard. Your spells are manipulation and your cauldron from hell, yet you wrap yourself in white and wear a silver wig. Strong people have a strong self of self-worth and self-awareness. They don't need the approval of others. Truman Production. You can find all kinds of stuff on SoundCloud, AudioMac, YouTube, Mixcloud. There's all kinds of stuff everywhere. I did the radio shows, reggae radio show, all kinds of stuff. So, next. Recognize the mask you wear. That's a good one. They are the emotional mask, the mask we hide behind because of fear. Is there someone in the chat? I haven't checked the StreamYard window. It says 0 viewers here. So I think I'm alone. But I'm not alone, but it's a big word. So there are emotional masks. The mask we hide behind because of fear. For example, if we are insecure, we might hide behind the mask of name dropping. If we are, hold on. If we are unsure of our power, we can hide behind mask of being a bully. If we don't think the world loves us, we can hide behind mask of anger. We mask the debt we've incurred to pay for lifestyles we can't afford. We pretend things are fine at work when our jobs are on the line. We pretend things are okay in our marriages when they're in distance. What mask do you wear? One of the most common reasons we wear masks is what I think of an imposter syndrome. The fear that the world is going to find us out. I've heard it described as feeling like a fake, like you don't really belong, or like you aren't really successful, but are just posing as such. One of our greatest fears is that if we show our true self, the world will say, oh, it's just you. But being just you is actually the best and most perfect thing you could ever be. As Oscar Wilde said, Be yourself, everyone else is taken. There are three practical reasons why we should shed our mask. The first is to live into our potential. We have to bring all of who we are to what we do. There are numerous people who have our same skill set, or maybe even better one, but none of these people bring the same personality, creativity, and spirit to the job that you do. That's something they can't match. The irony is that we often mask that part of ourselves at work and lose our greatest potential. The second reason is relief. It is exhausting to live an inauthentic life. You put on a mask or two or 10, then take a few off, then put a couple more on. It's exhausting. Worst of all, you start forgetting who you really are. Let the world know you as you are, not as you think you should be, because sooner or later, if you are posing, you will forget the pose. And then where are you? The third reason is healing. When we wear masks, we carve a piece of ourselves out, withholding part of ourselves as unworthy. But in relationship, especially in our spiritual relationship, we can be truly healed unless we offer up all the pieces. It's like handing someone a broken vase and asking him or her to fix it, but holding back two or three of the broken pieces. Mask made shallow what divine has intended to be deep. Everything in our lives gets cheated when we choose to hide ourselves behind our mask. We weren't born with masks. We put them on so we can take them off. Start with this simple exercise. Think about a negative message you have held onto. Ask yourself whether it is true. More than likely, the answer is no. And if it is no, then you have to ask these questions. Why am I carrying that message? If I put it down, what would happen? Probably nothing. The main risk we face is the world reactions. Opening yourself up threatens others. It invites them to reevaluate their own lives. Many times it forces them to realize that they too have the power to change, but they haven't. Don't let that stop you. Don't pull your mask partially off, then let the world scare you into putting it back on. As the poet E. E. Cummings wrote, the greatest battle we face as human beings is the battle to protect our true self from the self the world wants us to become. Think about the mask you wear and commit to taking them off. Hold your gift out to the world. No apology, no shame, no regrets. As the old saying goes, every creature has its rightful place, and in that place it becomes beautiful. Boom. Anybody here? Nope. Okay. That's a picture, I think, in Charlevoix, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Become a conscious viewer, become an aware viewer. Be an aware viewer, a great observer. Our brains are hardwired to find things that benefits us. Being selfless is very important when you are observing. Just observe and I guarantee you that it will be helpful in some way or the other in the future. Becoming the observer is more than just thinking about yourself. It really is a different state of mind. Whether you are doing meditation, mindfulness practices, therapy, or other personal development, personal evolution work. Becoming the observer is a critical ability to learn in order to make personal changes. Being the observer is more than not noticing how you think about yourself and even your behaviors. Being an observer of yourself requires that you be aware of very subtle emotions, impulses, feelings in your body, and behaviors. In this state of mind, you will have a different mental process. It would be more like sitting in a hunting perch, watching and waiting to see what comes through the meadow. This can be difficult when we watch ourselves. Many of our behaviors, emotion, and impulses are automatic and keep our attention so engaged that we don't have any bandwidth left to notice what that impulse, thought, or emotion happened. We end up doing the response before noticing the sensation or thought that stimulated a response. Once we are engaged in the response or reaction, the opportunity to notice is lost. The ability to become the observer of yourself and your behavior is a vital step in changing your behavior and emotional reactions. For instance, if you are prone to get angry or some other emotion or saboting behavior, you want to be able to choose not to say something before it comes out of your mouth in a way that you will regret. Since most outbursts happen so fast, just within the time it takes to have a nerve react, how do you intercede when the common sense of your intellect seems displaced during this time? It may seem to only show up after to tell you how poorly you handled it. The answer is to develop a number of new neural pathways in the brain that act as a kind of monitoring system. This will give your mind and your brain a new way of working to help change the old ways. New neural pathways can be accomplished by doing some exercise regularly over a few weeks. Just over time. Once developed, once developed, what we said, once engaged, you will have a kind of aware monitoring system, well, a kind of attentive monitoring system in your mind, giving attention to little triggers, your emotional state and patterns of thought that often precede your outburst. Your outburst. By being the observer, you will have learned the important signposts to look for within yourself or in the environment that tell you that you are nearing one of those angry outbursts. Before investigating these leads up signals, you won't know they are there. You usually discover them through a process of reviewing past outbursts. In any case, once you have them, you will see the signposts and getting a warning. This is what the observer part of your mind is able to do. Once you have the warning, you are also in a different aware state. Not only do you have the observer mind working, but now you can also have your common sense reasoning on site early to consider the consequences of an angry outburst, and that will help motivate you not to go there. With your observer active in your mind, along with your common sense reasoning, you have a much better chance of refraining when the angry aspect shows up to rent. You will have three parts of your mind working, two of them for refraining, and one pushing for the angry outburst. In the beginning, the two parts might still be small and get overrun by the anger, but with time, those patterns of the mind become stronger and can hold back the angry behaviors and words. As you progress further, you might use the power of your observer ability to look into the sources of your anger. Aspects of being the observer. When you get good at observing yourself, you will notice it the moment something triggers you. You will notice the first sensation of feeling uncomfortable, the impulse to want to do something in response, such as a move, speak, or to withdraw from someone. When you are very habilitated at being an observer, you will be able to observe this impulse and refrain from acting on it. In this moment, you will notice a second response, the one that happens in our body and emotions when we don't follow the automated response of the first stimulus. It is in these moments that we grow out of old patterns and begin to consciously create, attentively create new patterns. Attentively, I think it's like that. Attentively, or maybe no. Create new patterns and behaviors. Becoming the observer requires that we do it in a neutral witness manner. It is not enough to just think about ourselves. Any egotistical person can do that. When the ego part of the mind thinks about ourselves, it often does it with a mode of comparison. Comparison. The ego part of the mind will compare us to someone else or an idealized version of ourselves we hold in our belief system. It is evaluating how well and how poorly we did something based on that standard for comparison. It might even judge us for not being very spiritually aware. It produces thoughts about whether other people are noticing us and what they might think. It is an egotistical thought that says we are not meditating enough or not doing enough mindfulness practices. While these may seem like observations, they are not. These thoughts are criticism with an agenda, the result of which is that we feel worse. When we act in the way of a neutral observer, we notice different things. We notice when those thoughts are arising from parts of our ego and the emotions they produce. In more heightened states of awareness, we might also notice the idealized version in the background of our mind being used as comparison. We might notice the idea that we could sit down and spread some time in quiet meditation, and then notice how our emotion, thoughts, and body reacts to that idea. As an observer, we might notice negative thoughts, rebut why it is not a good time. We are busy and that we will be better served by something else instead. In these moments, we can see the microsecond it takes for an agenda to be changed, procrastination to happen, or for a conflict in agenda to arise and feel uncomfortable. The observer's state of mind doesn't see any of these rebuttals or redirects as the problem as that would have an agenda. It just notices as if you were studying the brushstroke style in a particular painting or the wood grain in a piece of furniture. If it were to think anything about them, it would say, I notice a rebuttal or conflict coming from parts of my mind. Interesting. The observer, aware of itself as a state of mind. When you become the observer, you will notice that your thoughts arise all by themselves. Yeah, take a little break. I'll be back. Okay, we'll keep going a little bit. So the observer aware of itself as a state of mind. When you become the observer, you will notice that your thoughts arise all by themselves. You will notice that your mind thinks all by itself, and you can sit there and listen to it and watch the images it projects. In the beginning of noticing, you will often have reaction of the chatter of internal dialogue. There might be thoughts wishing it would quiet down, or that you aren't meditating very well, or confused as to why they don't stop. At this stage, you are having too many reactions to really be the observer yet, but you are a step closer to that state of mind. After a while, you move on to observe the reaction as well as the initial impulse. This is another state of mind for extending your mindfulness practice. Once of the byproduct of this process is that you realize that you can sit and listen without responding to the initial impulses or the reaction to those impulses and thoughts. When you are doing this, you realize yourself as something separate from these impulses and the mind that is doing the thinking, talking, and reacting. You are calm and conscious of yourself while around you, the mind is busy with chatter and impulses to do something. You become aware that your mind is separate from you. With this awareness, you also become aware that you are separate from your mind. This can be both a very interesting new sense of self and uncomfortably unsettling at the same time. The unsettling part will soon pass. As you practice becoming the observer, you will notice more subtle things that affect you. In the beginning, you might notice you are procrastinating. Over time, you will notice the different things you are doing to procrastinate. With progress, you will notice how, when you think of starting on a task, that your mind jumps to checking your email or calling a friend. With more practice, you might observe a kind of automatic impulse down your arm that moves your hand to your computer or phone. That's an interesting one. You will become aware that you really barely thought about doing something and your body was already in the action. You may begin to wonder what is making this happen and why does it happen. This kind of curiosity will help with motivation to practice more and diversify your mindfulness practices. In this state of mind, there can be a sense of curiosity about all these subtle things happening. You might have a state of wonder or watchfulness while watching your mind, as if you were waiting at a coffee shop for someone you are interested in, but have only talked on the phone. Resistance to this mindfulness practice. At the same time, the ego part of your mind will likely be doing things to push you away from further investigation. Becoming the observer of these resistance dynamics, such as procrastination challenges, the status quo of the ego, and unconscious belief system. This may cause uncomfortable feelings. This will lead to the next layer of practice for an observer. You will need to observe these uncomfortable feelings and refrain from acting on them. You might notice that these feelings send the signal to your mind that you should get busy doing something so you feel better. The result of acting on these feelings will likely be that you become so busy that you don't have time to practice being the observer as intently as you were doing. You might notice that this is a kind of defense by the belief system to stop the changes in new behavior you are making. What I am saying here is that your ego mind and unconscious beliefs will put you up various kinds of resistance and roadblock to your practice of becoming the observer. And of course, each person's experience will vary. Some people might find it easy, but I have found those people to be rare. Sometimes it happens that a person is in a place in their life that such a self awareness happens quickly and easily. For most people, becoming a self aware observer is to be worked at. As a practical exercise, begin sitting still and noticing all the sensations you feel with each inhale and exhale of your breath. Then begin to observe all the things that come to pull your attention away from observing the sensation of breathing. This will give you a good start for developing the abilities of a conscious, of an aware observer, an attentive observer. So, key number 30. Nice key. With the M for Motivation Academy. So, don't filter, just be your divine self. Just be you. Don't filter, just be you. Just be your divine self. Yeah. Don't feel. Yeah. Yeah. We lost it. Stop sharing. Okay. So I'm here. We'll be back in 2 minutes. I can take that off, I think. I'm back. So I'll let you go and I'll be here tomorrow, 8 a.m. That's it. So that's it for tonight. Large up, rise and shine. I'm out.